Thank you so much for coming to Coffee and Conversations. This week we have Lauren, and Brenda's down in the front. They're from Dovetail Companies, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about what they do and all the great services that they could offer, okay? All right, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Can everyone see our slides okay? All right. I will tell you I love engaging conversation. I don't like to stand up here and present all the time. So if we're talking about something and you have something to add, please do. I love the back and forth conversation. We're going to be talking about a topic today, gauge. Wow. Gauge, shift, accelerate. So it can be a little lofty to people at times, but hang in there with me because we have a goal at the end of this. And this is to start to think about your future and how we can help you move forward with ease so that the whole life planning process is not so scary and overwhelming. So my name is Lauren Watts. I'm one of the co-owners of Dovetail Companies. My fearless business partner, Erin DiCarlo, is up here on the left. She sends her regards. She could not be here with us today. We essentially provide one point of contact for any and all services that an older adult may need when starting to think about how you want to craft your future, where you want to go. Do you want to stay home? Do you want to leave your home and move into a community setting? We help you craft that. We help you execute a plan, put together a plan, execute a plan. And then we are also seniors real estate specialists. So as an organization, we are certified senior advisors, certified dementia practitioners, realtors. We are specialist listing agents for the mature seller, and sellers representative specialists. We are also senior and specialty move managers. What the heck does all that mean? All it means is we can help you really focus on working with one point of contact for anything that you need to start to plan your future and execute on that. If we cannot, we have an amazing network of professionals that we work with to help you get there as well. But this is not really about our business today, so if you have any specific questions, we do have collateral up here. We do provide complimentary consultations as well, so happy to come into your home and talk about your own unique situation with you as well to help you start to plan. So as we get started today, I want you all to celebrate the life that you're living. I was just saying to these ladies up here, it's so nice to come into a senior center and see so many people that are active and vibrant and really taking advantage of a center that you have here today to embrace yourself in that, put your arms around it and be part of activities to fulfill yourself. A lot of times we meet clients that have really been demotivated. They're not getting out and about. And so COVID, even though I think it was really hard for all of us, for a lot of older adults, it was even harder. And where you're all here, sitting here today, I'm sure that this is not, a one-off thing for you. I'm sure you're here all the time. A lot of older adults don't actually take that step towards engagement. They want to, but they don't know how to. And I always say I think that's, about the senior center that you're around and the community that you're in, so that's great. So celebrate that you're here. Some may have had COVID, some may have not. We're healthy. Maybe there's a few things going on, but for the most part, I can see gleaming eyes and smiling faces. So it's very exciting to be in front of you today. When we think about aging, how many of you are so overwhelmed by the thought of aging? Overwhelmed? I love it. This is going to be great then. I think all of you are probably going to be able to give us materials to go back to. When we think about aging well, there's a lot of different aspects that come into play when we think about aging and what we need to plan for. You hear a lot about work with an elder law attorney, get your will and your estate plan documents in place. Your financial planner, make sure that You being on a limited income, you're going to be able to afford the rest of your future. Where do you want to go? Do you want to stay home? Do you want to move out of your home? There's so many different options to start to think about. And sometimes you're doing that on your own if you've lost a spouse, or maybe your family lives far away, or you have an amazing support system around you. So sometimes this little wheel here can seem very overwhelming. It can seem overwhelming if you're thinking about leaving your home. How do I downsize that home? So everything that we do and what we're going to talk about today is it doesn't have to be so hard. If we take it in manageable bites and we get very clear with who we are and what we'd like to see for our future, it doesn't have to be so hard, which is really exciting. The other thing that we're going to talk about today is crisis doesn't have to be crisis. If we prepare ourselves for how we need to react to things, it doesn't necessarily have to be a crisis with a plan in place. So a lot of times we see clients in 4 different situations. Can you ladies say this, or I'm in your way? Okay. We see some people that are in crisis. They haven't made a plan whatsoever. They don't have any of their legal and financial documents in place. It's sort of, they're always on that hamster wheel, right? Responding in the moment to what's happening. And so it's a crisis. They never really have a plan for what's going to happen. That is the worst time that we can actually make a solid plan for ourselves and to make really good decisions. So think about it. If you're in a crisis situation, you fall, you don't have any plans in place, you go to the hospital, they're now saying, okay, great, you need to go to rehab. And then in a week and a half, they're saying, well, you can't go back home. What do I do? My plan's always been to age in place in my home. That's a crisis situation for a lot of people. We don't want you to be in that predicament. The second one on the right-hand side is the most common. There's a lot of twists and turns along the way, right? We might not have a perfect plan, and that's okay. We can help you get there, but we overcome those humps as we go. We're not always reacting to everything, but things are happening and we're responding when we need to. The one on the bottom is doable. You got kind of your runway, little ups and downs. Things are okay. Are they perfect? No. But you've got a pretty good solid plan, and I think you're reacting and pivoting when you need to. The goal is to really get to know yourself. Really ask yourself some of these hard questions to get to when we're in flow. When we have a really good sense of what we're looking to have for our future, we know ourselves, we know our support networks, we know those people that we can go to that are going to support us and lift us up versus bring us down. And we can have a really good plan. But if something happens and it comes about, we know how it's best to react to that and how we can pivot in that situation. We talk a lot about our environment, what's happened. We talked a little bit about COVID. I don't know with all of you, but I have not actually turned on the television to watch the news in 2.5 years. I made a conscious decision back when this all started that I could not put myself through that. We work a lot with older adults that are in crisis, so it's a lot of heaviness to begin with. And I just could not cloud myself with what was going on. I do get my news in other ways, but I can't take on all that negativity. There is a theory out there with positive psychologists. It's called the negativity bias. What that means is for every one negative thing that we hear or we think or we absorb, we have to outweigh that with 3 positive things. I don't know about you, but that is a full-time job. You think about maybe hearing 5 negative things on the news in a day, and it's amazing, even though you hear them, and you might just be passing along, that's still sticking with you, whether you know that or not. So if you ever go about your day and you find, I'm really kind of in a weird mood today, and I don't know why, it could be because of what you heard in that moment, and you just don't know why, but it's kind of getting to you. There's some exercises that we can do to kind of get that to remove it. But I had to make a conscious decision not to do that because I think that the stat is like you have 65,000 thoughts or something a day. Think about 65,000 thoughts. If 45,000 of those are negative, and you have to outweigh that with 3 positive to every 1 negative, you might as well go to bed. It's a lot, right? So we want to combat that. How do we put ourselves in this position that even if something negative comes about, it's okay. We know how to turn that off. We don't have to take that on. We can forgive that thought and we can move on so that we're constantly in this state of flow. And so when that negative event or comment happens, we're not being brought down by it. So to combat that, we start to look at what is called the PERMA model. This is by Martin Seligman. He is a positive psychologist, and he looks at the 5 modalities of well-being. And Erin and I actually added on health at the end because your health is really a big component of your well-being. But we look at these 5 modalities and we start off with positive emotions. Think about in a day how many positive emotions that you have. Positive emotions are so good for our well-being because if we're not there and we're not in a state of positivity or thinking about these silver linings in some situations, then we're going to be brought down really fast. And so start to really kind of tune into yourself and think, do I have more positive emotions in a day or do I have more negative emotions in a day? Because your positive emotions are going to help you be motivated and to move forward with ease in a lot of different things. Engagement. Big round of applause for you all being here today because you are really engaging yourself in life outside of your home, your immediate circle. That all brings you purpose and joy at the end of the day. If we are not doing things to fill our buckets and give us joy, then we're never going to be able to shift ourselves when we're in a moment of crisis or having to make a really solid decision or negative thoughts. Relationships. We're going to talk a little bit about this in a bit. Think about the people that are in your life. We have our family, we have our friends. It's okay to say that some of our family members or our friends drain us. It's about recognizing that and seeing where can they fit into our lives and where do we fit into theirs. But more importantly, it's about really embracing ourselves and bringing in those people that are in alignment with what your goals are, what your values are, because those positive people that share like-minded individuals with you are going to naturally bring you up, which is great. So when we think about the negativity bias, even just being around a really positive person that can lift you up, that's going to help you throughout the day, especially in your situations. So we'll go into the relationships a little bit here in a moment. Meaning, it's about purpose. When we think about, there's 2 guarantees in life, death and taxes, right? We all have a finality here on earth. We've all been brought here for a reason. And a lot of us need to make sure that we have lived out that purpose here before we pass. So what is our meaning? What is our purpose behind why we were here? Are we still bringing that into our life post-retirement? Are we still doing that? I talk to my clients all of the time. If you've been knitting for 20 years, you got to keep knitting. Even if your family says to you, I have so many sweaters, I can't take on another sweater. There are beautiful organizations and groups that knit for the hospitals for newborn children or for children that need, clothes or anything like that. There's ways in which we can take what we feel is a negative because maybe our family said, I can't take on another sweater, and turn that into a positive to really help somebody else. So part of what we're going to do, and we have workshop sheets up here for you to take home, is to find your why, find your purpose, find your meaning, and always go back to that. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit more. Achievement. It is a basic human need to feel as though we have accomplished something in this world and that we have achieved something. We talk a lot about legacy leaving. So when we do leave this earth, knowing and feeling comfortable that we have left our legacy for other people to talk about. I did a crazy exercise with my family. Stick with me here. We do a lot of Sunday night dinners, and I'm in this space. I talk to my clients all of the time about putting together a plan. And I said to my family, do you want to be cremated or do you want to be buried? And they're all like, why are you asking me this? I said, well, I already know I want to be cremated and I'd like my ashes to be spread over the water because I love being by the water. They're like, Lauren, you're 38 years old. Why would you even start to think about this? I said, I could walk out the door right now and none of you know my plans. But what I did for myself and what I encouraged them all to do, I said, write your obituary. They're like, why would I write my obituary right now? I said, because that's going to be your legacy. What do you want people to know about you that you feel as though you left behind here on earth? And second to that, who are those people that supported you through that too? So it was just an exercise to start to get them to think about what was their meaning here? What did they want that to be? What did they want to leave behind? That is something that we all need as human beings to feel as though we accomplished and we achieved something. So can sound a little lofty, but I'll tell you right now, it works. And when you have to go back to that and think about, what have I done? What am I proud of? What have I accomplished? Ask some people, what do you think I've accomplished? It all kind of helps put that into perspective to kind of come back to your meaning at times. And then health. We all need our health, right? At the end of the day, it's about our social, emotional, and our physical health. And so without that, without being in touch with what our body needs in this moment, we really don't have anything. So this is something that kind of helps us get to where we need to be. So right now, I want you all just to kind of get a gauge check on yourself. Check in on this moment. Check in on, excuse me one second. Check in on, am I a pretty positive person? Am I a person that can lift people up? Can I easily be lifted up by others? Or am I overtaken by all of the negativity that surrounds me? I also want you to take a check on what fills you up. What brings you joy at the end of the day? When you lay your head down on your pillow and you say, I've had a successful day, what brought you joy? If any of you say it's being in this moment with me here today, that's great. But what brings you joy? What fills you up? What fills your gas tank? And what depletes you? Part of the worksheets that we're going to send you home with, and part of what we do is provide a complimentary consultation to help you get through these worksheets, is understanding not only the activities and the things that fill you up and drain you, but it's those people. Because those relationships, especially later in life, are what move us forward, right? We lose loved ones and friends every day, every month, every year, and it becomes really, really difficult. So those relationships to hold on to and make sure that you have someone that's lifting you up and being your champion becomes even more important. So we'll look into this a little bit deeper, but kind of advise you just to sort of think about, where am I at right now? Are there some simple shifts that I can make in my life to make it a little bit easier? And then create your reality. We talked a little bit about finding your why. What brings you purpose? What brings you joy? Part of that can just be a really quick statement. Does anybody have a why that they want to share? I want to do really good things. I want to help people. I want to provide education so that people can feel as though they are really making strong, informed decisions for themselves. I want older adults to see and empower them to continue to make their own decisions as they live later in life. I want people to thrive. That's my why. Every day, I never feel like I work a day in my life. And that is the God honest truth. I get up every day so grateful for the stories that I hear from people like yourselves, and that motivates me to propel forward, which is really exciting. I have a client that's a nurse. She always wanted to help people. She has Alzheimer's disease now. She still to this day stays up on overnight shifts And even though nobody's in her home, she still watches out for people. That's her why. That's always going to be in her heart. So think about that for yourself. Mindfulness. It's not about dwelling on the past. The past is the past. We can't really do much about that. And we don't have a crystal ball for the future. We don't know what's going to necessarily happen for our future. So it's really about being in the present moment for yourself and giving grace and gratitude for that present moment, whatever's happening. How can we shift ourselves to be a little bit more in the present moment? I'll give you an example. I am running around all day. I am not only living my life, but I'm helping my clients. I have family, I have friends. I have a little dog that I love and needs my attention. Sometimes I can be in 6 different places at one given time. That's not in the present moment. So I actually have to recognize that, and I breathe through that. I'll take a deep breath. I'll say, okay, Lauren, you're here in the Walpole Council on Aging with great people, and it brings you right back to that. But it's mindful of this moment. All of you, even though you're sitting here very quiet, this is really meaningful because hopefully at the end of this, I'll be able to make some more connections with each of you and hear your story, because at the end of the day, that's what brings me joy. And then how do we execute and move forward? How do we take all of these big lofty things? Lauren, you're asking me to do a lot by getting in tune with myself and answering these questions. How do I then put a plan in place to move forward? How do I have those conversations with those around me that I love to make sure that they're on board and they have a good solid understanding of what I want? All of that's going to come together, and we'll kind of work through that step by step. One of the biggest things that I say to people all of the time, and it's sort of our tagline too, it's about taking it in manageable bites. You can't take all this on your own. You've got to find the people that are around you that can support you and lift you up through a lot of these things. We talked a lot about finding your why, but what brings you joy? Ideally, what is your vision for the future? Do you want to stay at home? Has your dream always been to stay at home? If that's your dream, then that's fantastic. What are you doing to put your plan in place to make sure that you can properly age in place at home? So that if anything does happen, you already know what you need to do. Do you stand in your living room and say, I love this house. I love everything that it brings to me. It fills my bucket. It brings me joy every day. I love looking at the pictures of my family. I love that it's, a Cape style home and everything's primarily on the first floor, but my bedroom's on the second. I don't want a stair lift in my house. My stairs are very narrow. I can't do that. That doesn't mean that you have to leave your home. Maybe it's taking your dining room. Maybe you don't have a lot of people over for dinner anymore. Maybe it's taking that dining room and converting that into your bedroom. Maybe it's a simple thing as putting a grab bar in a shower downstairs. There's a lot of things that we can do now to start to think about, how can I continue to support myself in this house for as long as possible? Or on the flip side, we have a lot of clients that we meet with that say, I want to live in my home for the rest of my life. I'm like, that's fantastic. Let's put a plan together to do that. And then they say, but I really miss seeing people. I have nobody around here. My 2 sons are 3,000 miles away. A lot of my friends have passed. I'm a very social person. This isn't for me. And for a lot of our clients, it's not the brick and mortar walls that surround them that calls that home. It's the belongings that they have accumulated in that home over time. It's the sounds of the kids running around. It's the sounds of the Sunday night dinners. It's the sounds of friends coming over to play Mahjong. There's different aspects that really help you to think about, what does home mean? It's not always those 4 walls. We use a practice called appreciative inquiry that starts with what's working really well for you. We do not focus on what's not working well. That doesn't help anybody. Sometimes we can't change those things, but we can enhance what's working really well for us And we can continue to have that in our life. And that's only going to help with our factors of well-being and help motivate us forward. Your bucket list items. Do you want to travel? If you want to travel, start to plan a trip. If you can't travel, we always say you can still travel. Technologies these days is amazing. We had a client that always wanted to go to Greece and Poland and somewhere else. I can't remember off the top of my head. But because of his physical decline, he couldn't. But with technology today, we were able to bring Greece, Poland, and that third place to him with virtual technology. He wasn't physically there, but through virtual technology, he felt as though he was there. He was having an amazing experience of being brought around to all these different places. So for him, it was redefining travel. He still got to see a lot of these places, even though he didn't get on a plane and go there. So it's starting to think about that kind of stuff too. And then we've talked about it a lot, but who in your life really supports your goals and dreams to help you get there? Mindfulness, we talked about choosing how you're going to live today to remain in control. Erin and I do a presentation. It's called Parents Don't Want to Be Parented. It's one of our favorite conversations that we have because it's a role reversal thing. A lot of times our adult children think they know exactly what's best for us and to make those decisions for us and can gently make those recommendations for what they think should happen. But you should always be that person to remain in control. And so when you get really clear and you gauge what's going on with yourself, and you can put that plan in place and you can tell everybody, here's what I'd like to see for my future in a really great way, it really helps the conversation. I'll tell you, your adult children, you giggled, are going to be thankful for that because at some level, they don't want to have to make those choices and decisions for you. They're doing that out of love because that's, what we all do. We assume kind of these roles and we do it out of love. A goal is just a plan without a wish. We talk about this a lot, but I said this about the traveling, but if you wanted to travel, there's ways that you can still travel. The other thing is too, think about a goal of yours. For some of you, it could be, I'm ready to downsize my home. So I'm going to downsize my home. Doesn't mean you're going to downsize your home in a week or call in your adult children and have them get it done in a weekend. That for you emotionally is not going to do anything outside of make you resent that process and not give you the emotional time that you need to spend with your belongings and going through that for yourself. So the reason I bring that up is because it has to be attainable and it has to be time-based. You have to kind of look at your situation and say, how do I need this process to go? What do I need this to look like? And taking it in manageable bites. So what I mean by that, if you were to say to me, I need to downsize my home, but it's a lot, it's very overwhelming for me, my recommendation for you today would be tomorrow. Wake up, feel comfortable, give gratitude for the day, and then get started on your spare bedroom closet. Take out all the sweaters that you have. You've got 50 on your bed. I just did this with my winter clothes and shoes. It was a disaster. You got 50 sweaters laid out on your bed. Go through them. Any of them that are pilled or stained or have rips in them, let's put them in a pile to discard. Then you're left with 40. Out of those 40, you say, I've lost about 25 pounds. Bless you. I wish I could do that. And you say, these 10 don't fit me anymore. I'm going to give them a second chance at life and I'm going to donate them to somebody that can actually use these. You've now just gone from 50 sweaters. If I can do my math correctly, you're left with about 20, 30. Thank you. You've just made progress in your downsizing. So you take that moment and you celebrate that and you call your friend and you say, Mary, I just downsized 20 sweaters. I've got 30 left. And she's going to say, Congratulations, that's awesome. You've just motivated me to do the same thing. It's not about going in and boiling the ocean and saying, I'm going to downsize my home and trying to run around your home like a wild person. It's about taking that in manageable bites and celebrating in every step of the way. I will guarantee you that if you celebrate that you just got rid of 20 sweaters and gave them to a good place and discarded the other ones, that's going to help propel you forward to make the next decision that you need to make. So we're going to talk about a few different theories here, and then we're going to open it up to some conversation and kind of working through some of these things. This is a self-determination theory by psychologists Richard Ryan and Edward Deachy. And this is all about the 3 components that we need in our life to really help motivate us forward. The first one is autonomy. We talked a little bit about this when I mentioned our conversation around parents don't want to be parented. We all need, on a human level, to know that we have the autonomy to make decisions for ourselves. And when we make decisions for ourselves, we are doing that because we are the one that knows us best. We know the time frame in which something needs to happen. We know what brings us joy. We know what brings us down. We can make those decisions. And so when we know that we remain in control of these decisions all along the way until we can't, when you can't, your plan then helps you because you've already made that decision. You've already communicated that to somebody else. And so they're just carrying that through for you. And that gives you peace of mind, but it also continues to help you motivate forward into what you need to do for your life. Competence, the experience of mastery and being effective in one's activity. That goes back to the sweaters. If you effectively downsize those sweaters and you know that you were competent of that task and you achieved that task and you celebrate that task, it's going to continue to help move you forward. The last one is connection. I talked about, your friends, your family. Who is that person that you can call? If you don't have that person, I'm glad to give you my cell phone number and I'll be that person for you, because I truly believe that if we have a connection in life that can help keep us raised up and moving forward and making these decisions, then living life and aging is not going to seem so overwhelming. And we're going to feel like we have a partner in this as well. So these are really important to kind of think about that and be ourselves and be our own decision makers. The second one is the choose again method. This is coined by Gabby Bernstein, who is a New York Times bestseller author. She's also a positive psychology and coach. And she works a lot around this negativity bias, right? All of these negative things coming in. We're all going to have negative thoughts. We're all going to have a bad moment, a bad day. How do we take that moment or maybe that comment and recognize it, understand what it was, forgive it and give it grace, and then choose again? So, perfect example. I had a goal for myself that I was going to lose 25 pounds. Okay? We've all had that goal at one point or another in our lives every week. And I put myself all into this. I'm all in. I'm jumping in. I'm giving up coffee. I'm giving up sugar. I am just eating fruits and vegetables. I am taking away everything that I love. You want to know what I just stripped of myself? I love to cook. I love the tastes. I was taking all that away because my mindset was on, I've just got to eat fruits and vegetables. So I'm just eating salad with like a little vinegar on it and that's it. That's done nothing but demotivate me from doing anything. So then I start beating myself up. I'm never going to lose this 25 pounds. I'm terrible. I can't even have self-discipline. These negative thoughts are like going. In that moment, I was like, oh my God, this is like such a trigger for me. So I recognize it in that moment. I say, Lauren, it's okay. You're boiling the ocean. Who gives up coffee, sugar, alcohol, everything that you like to eat, cooking, baking, all at the same time? It doesn't work. So I had to choose again. I said, you know what? This week, I'm going to give up coffee. And I'm going to see how I do. I was a bear. But it's about taking those moments. And I've noticed for myself, there is something about my afternoon coffee and just holding that in my hand that fills my bucket and gives me complete satisfaction. So I've realized that's not the first thing that I can give up. I still need that in my life. But I don't need the bread. I don't need the sugar. None of that actually brings me joy, and it doesn't make me feel any better. So I'm going to start with that. Then when I feel so much better after 3 weeks of not eating the bread and the sugar, I'm going to be on such a high to take the next step into something else. So take it in manageable bites to when it feels good for you. It goes back to if you're looking to downsize or right size from your home, taking it in manageable bites. You can't do it all. You can't go down to the basement and say, I'm going to conquer this today. It's not going to work at all. You're going to feel so demotivated and not good. It's going to feel sticky. This is my favorite part, and I do have a worksheet up here that I'd love for you all to take home. At the beginning of this, I talked about your relationships. I've been kind of peppering that in throughout this conversation. Your relationships are the people that are around you here today, the people that you engage with every moment, your friends, your family, other loved ones, professionals. It is really important for us to get really clear on who lifts us up and who brings us down. So, quick exercise for you, but if your phone were to ring right now and it's your best friend, are you like, oh, I'm going to go run outside. I got to take this. I'm so happy. I'm smiling. I have this great feeling in me. I just cannot wait to talk to her. Or is it like, it's Mary again. I'll wait. I'll call her back tomorrow. Ask yourself in that moment, why did you just say, I'll wait? Is it because every time you're like, hi, Mary? You'll never guess, but today I went to this coffee hour. This woman was standing in front of me telling me that I needed to plan for my future. I don't want to do this. I sat next to a lady that wouldn't stop talking. What did she do for you in that moment? Nothing but bring you down, and you've had a great day because you just organized your sweaters and downsized 20 of them. So ask yourself, who brings me up and who brings me down? It's the same thing with the activities and the projects that you do every day. You don't have to do it all. If sorting and organizing or cleaning your house doesn't bring you joy, is there somebody else that can help you do it? On the other side of things, a lot of times as we get older, we bring in people from our sphere to help us out. Healthcare proxy, power of attorney. Sometimes we think just because our son is a financial planner, that he should be our power of attorney. Sometimes that doesn't make sense because maybe he just hasn't seen the connection and doesn't feel the love for what you want to do, is not in alignment with maybe you leaving your house. Maybe that's not the right person for you. Or maybe as you get a bit older and you need some care, maybe it's not asking your son to come in and help you bathe. Maybe that's your daughter. Maybe that is a friend, or maybe that's a niece. I'm a niece, and my uncle actually, when he was at the end of his life, asked that I come in. But we had a great relationship, and it was more of him just knowing kind of, I think, where the work that I did and just the compassion for what he was going through. It was not about throwing him in the shower. It was just about, simple conversation and doing a sponge bath, but it was on his terms. He felt comfortable, and it was different. So if you can understand that, I think we have to take a look at everybody that we have in our life and really get a sense for, what can you help me with? And sometimes it's just asking that person, I'm thinking maybe of having you as my healthcare proxy. Is that something that you're comfortable with? And if they're honest with themselves, they'll either say yes or no. But if they say no, it's not because they don't love you. It's just that they're not sure that they're going to be able to fulfill that need for you. And that's okay too. So we do that with the same activities and professionals. I always say just because you've had an elder law attorney for 20 years doesn't always necessarily mean that that elder law attorney is the good fit for you. Everybody changes. We all have the right to change as well, but always to make sure that those people are in alignment with what you need. Same thing with your support network. We talked a little bit about this here, but family and friends, I always say, engaging them in conversation about your plans. So going back to my Sunday night dinner exercise, what do you want to see for yourself? Participating in that conversation. You, I think, probably need to know just as much for anybody else in your sphere what they would like to see for themselves. It's really difficult for a lot of us to talk about our finality. My business partner and I actually have a subscription to We Croak. It's an app on our phone, and it reminds us every single day that we're going to die. Some people are like, that's so morbid. Why would you ever want that? But it's a beautiful thing because it forces us to know we could pass tomorrow. Are we living today? Did we fulfill what we wanted to do today? And that's a really cool thing to be able to say for yourself too. So there's a lot of resources that are out there as well. All of this that we've talked about today is really just making sure that in the grand scheme of things, not only do we have a plan that's comfortable for us and we feel really good about, it's more about the motivation to thrive later in life in these years. And I'm so glad that we're sitting in front of a group of people here today that are very active, independent, social, that can do this, because you're already a step ahead of a lot of people, which is great. But a lot of this is making sure that if you are ever in a crisis, you know how to be proactive versus reactive. You know how to pivot in that moment, understand what that negative feeling, emotion, or moment might be, and you can easily pivot and get yourself into a better place. You have plan A, but then you also have your plan Bs that kind of come off of plan A should something happen. It allows you to always remain feeling good and in control about your decisions, which is important. And then it also helps you adjust and recover after that incident as well. We always say, always review your plan. Once you've gone through something, say, did I like the way that that felt? Did it feel good? Was it in alignment with what I want for my future, or was it not? And adjust that plan accordingly for yourself. From a legal and financial perspective, we also always say, make sure you're looking at that every 5 years. Because you did a will 10 years ago, things have changed. So always update that and look at it as well. A lot of what we're talking about today is going to help you also live a right-sized life. How many people have belongings from their parents' homes in their own homes? How many people have held on to those items because they're sentimental and very emotional? And do you have a hard time parting ways with them? Over time, a lot of people have lived in their homes for 45, 50, 60 years. It's natural that all that stuff is going to come in. How can we take some of these belongings that we can't keep in our house for a really long time or take on with us to the next place, give them reverence, maybe choose one, and then give a second life to some of the other things? It's in a whole emotional process that we have to go through to be able to be ready to part ways with those. Excuse me, I have such a tickle. It is. Here's what I'll tell you. We have a wonderful inventory thing, and we use a color-coded sticker system as part of what we do with our clients too, where those stickers come on and off, right? So you walk around your house and you say, oh my gosh, I've always wanted my daughter to have my china. And your daughter says, Mom, I don't want your china. And you're like, well, I've planned for you to have my china the last 15 years. What am I going to do now? But there are great organizations that are supporting the families that came over from Afghanistan that need your china. And I can't even tell you what it's like to go through these warehouses where they come in, they see this china, and it's like the emotion that you had picking out that china pattern before your wedding. And that means so much to them. It's okay that, and this is the hard part for a lot of clients. Not only do younger generations not want big brown furniture, which, oh, by the way, has lasted you for 35 plus years, 60, 70 years, they want the stuff that they can buy, have for 2-3 years and throw away. So they're going to IKEA, Pottery Barn. It's really hard for us to let go of those things. But also something that might have been your mom's that you took on because it has sentimental value to you doesn't mean that it does to somebody else. So these are the types of things that we take these stickers and we put a sticker on it and we say it's for Christine. And Christine comes and you say, Christine, and we have an inventory sheet. I've picked out these 6 things that I think that you want. Can we go through them together? Be honest with yourself and be realistic that she might not want them. And if she doesn't, what can we do with those things next? We have a whole host of resources for you as well. And it's very individualized. A lot of our clients come to the table and say, I want to donate this if nobody wants it to this organization. Or this type of organization is really near and dear to my heart. And we're going to go find an organization that will accept those things. I have a client that wanted to donate most of her stuff to a Catholic organization because that's where she gives her money and everything. And we went out and found a whole host of Catholic organizations that took her belongings. At the end of the day, it helped her part ways with some of those things. Something like pictures that we take from our family members and have boxes and boxes and boxes. There's great resources that you can digitize them. So instead of having all the boxes, you can see them on a rolling digital frame in your living room, which I always say to people is a great conversation starter. If someone comes over to your house and they're seeing these beautiful pictures go through, which is great. So there's a lot of resources. They're just very individualized. But what I would say is expect those emotions. Those emotions are normal. We always say we share tears, tissue, and time with our clients because it strikes a chord when you start to go through these things. It absolutely does. But some of the adult children will say, I don't want to deal with this when it comes time, and they don't want to deal with it because they don't want to make those decisions on those emotional pieces. If you haven't made that decision, they're not likely going to know where to go with that. And so they want to do that together, or they want you to have a plan for that. Which is why it's so important to kind of start the process. Yes.
On another note, what about families? And trust me, unlike everybody else, I got a lot of chats.
Yeah.
And I made a very concerted effort with my husband to downsize certain sections.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can't do it all. So we were very disappointed because we knew our children didn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And we accepted that.
Yeah.
Said, okay, now ask you once, ask you twice, third time you're out, it's gone.
Yeah.
And the people that we went to that were reliable and helpful, they couldn't get us what we thought monetarily we could get. That's what I can't deal with, because nobody wants it, but then you see something online on those yard sales they have, and it's like now I don't trust anybody.
Yeah. What's your name?
Linda.
Linda was just saying, if anyone couldn't hear her, what do you do about all those tchotchkes that you think are worth something, but no one's purchasing them for? What I would say is you have to get very realistic. We always bring in antique appraisers and we try and find the value of that. The problem goes back, it's the same thing about the big brown furniture. So a lot of times our clients will say, well, my Hummels have a lot of value to them. Unfortunately, they don't. Same thing with China. We can't even sell China. However, what I will tell you is other countries are selling China. So we work with an organization, it's called The Real Real. Happy to share that resource with you as well. But they work with all countries to be able to find where you're going to get value for your belongings. So it may not just be selling to end users here in the United States. It might be selling in other countries. So that is one thing. Second, it's always to bring out a couple of different people, because we have found in our journeys with clients that, you know, what I thought would have been a pile of junk was somebody else's treasure. And he spent $575 on, I'm not even joking, stuff that was probably in your junk drawer. But there was something in there that had value and sentimental value to him that was worth that. So it's always about looking at a few different options, but also being realistic with yourself as well. We always point our clients to going to some of these online yard sale, estate sale kind of things. Craigslist is great to see what things are actually selling for versus what your expectation is, but it's really hard. You're not the only one that's in that boat. I think the problem is that what was great 30, 40 years ago, the younger generations just aren't seeing. I mean, I've literally bought big brown furniture for my clients because I'm like, this is beautiful. I can't get this in Pottery Barn. But not everybody is like that, you know? So it's very emotional. The other thing is too, is this is just a story, but it might resonate with you. My grandparents have a collection of salt and pepper shakers. Have you ever seen these? They're not like characters, but they're all different. Like you could have, I don't know, birds or like whatever, but they got those from their parents. They collected them and nobody wants them. And they're like, they've got to be of value somewhere because our parents paid a lot of money for these as they like traveled around. But we sat down and I said, what do you want to do with them? And they're like, well, we just want everybody to have like one to remember us by. I'm like, okay, one set is better than trying to give the entire set of 75 to somebody. So believe it or not, but they have it in their plans when they pass. We are going to put out a table of those salt and pepper shakers, and that's your thing to pick and remember them by. So with smaller tchotchke things like that, there's other creative ways to make sure that, you know, your legacy is kind of living on and some of your tchotchke stuff was living on too. But it's a hard thing. There's a lot of resources out there. So happy to talk to you on the side about that. And then there's the online estate sales where people will either pay $1 or $300 to come pick up your stuff. So it's amazing. You did an international one? Wow. It didn't go well?
Well, I can't say that because, like, I'm not an expert on any of it. So, you know, you got to trust the expert.
You do. And a lot of these things I will tell you that our clients have held on to because they heard from their dad that this was worth something. The problem is he traveled, he bought that, but it's something that was made and just sold on the street corner. So these experts truly are going to tell you what's going to sell or not. The only thing I would say is to be careful about some of these junk companies that you just call up on the TV ads that say point and we'll take it all away, because some of them are reselling your stuff. So just be very careful about that as well. But it's a gamble. Unfortunately, I think sometimes it's just setting expectations a little bit better. Yes.
You know, I'm from Connecticut, which is where my dad lived. When he died a couple of years ago, our realtor connected us with an organization that helped the homeless. They had some kind of a warehouse that, they would take donations of furniture and everything. We were going to sell my dad's house. We didn't want his stuff, okay, we had our own stuff. And literally, I was at his house one Sunday. The truck from this organization pulled up. I opened the door and I said, "It's yours." And every once in a while, like they'd point to a picture. You want that? Nope, take it. Do you want, these towels? No, take it. And they made 2 truckfuls from my dad's house. Now somebody's using it to set up a household. We had to get rid of it in order to sell the house.
That's the beautiful thing, though. You were able to give all of his belongings a second chance at life, even though you're not keeping it and holding on to it. Somebody else is really benefiting from that.
Well, I know, like, one woman who used to work with him took a lamp or something, but I mean, we got rid of so few things. It was better off to just give it to somebody like that,
Now, there is on the other side power that you, in asking other people that are around you, great story here, what they like. So my business partner, Erin, her grandmother passed, and her grandmother actually raised her. And when she passed, her dad and his siblings went into her home, backed up the dumpster, and just started throwing things away. She met them at the house, walked in, and said, "Where are Grammy's plastic bangles?" And they're like, "Erin, they went in the trash. Why would you want plastic bangles?" And she said, "Every morning when she brushed my hair, the memory of those plastic bangles going, I wanted those." So something that seems so non-sentimental to people could be sentimental. So that's why it's really good to work through and say, this is my vision, but is there anything else that you would like? We have all of these documents that help you put together these inventories so that it is easier when you're ready to take that step. But at least you can start to take some small steps now so you're not boiling the ocean later. Make sense? Okay. So that's it. These are some resources. And again, we have all these resources on our website. I have some collateral up here for you as well. We are happy to come out and do a complimentary consultation and understand what your needs are and give you some additional resources too. But some of the things that we talked about, aging.com, caregiving.com, those are all great. If you want to do more in your future and give yourself that vibrant life, thebucket.com is great. So anything that you've thought about doing in the past, you could go on there and put it on and kind of check things off, which is fun. Your professional support, your personal, and then certainly we're here as any support or resource for you as well. And then just a little bit about who we are too and what we do. I had mentioned this at the beginning, but we are aging experts, care manager certified, certified dementia practitioners, certified senior advisors, senior move managers, realtors. We're like everything. We're realtor specialists. But at the heart of what we do is everything aging. It's everything to help make this overwhelming, or what could be an overwhelming process, a bit of a more seamless one. Because at the end of the day, I think not only for myself, but the rest of our team, our whole goal is to see older adults thrive later in life. It's not about retiring and then giving up what you had dreamed of. We have seen so many clients that say, I'm going to play golf every single day, and they don't. How do we still bring that into your life when you maybe can't get out on the course? It's the small putting green, in your new space. Or I had a client that used to play the piano every single day, moved into a community, couldn't play because there wasn't a piano. We brought her a piano. She went from like down here to up here. It's amazing when you give yourself what you need, what makes your heart go, what makes your soul go, and give that back to yourself in your life to really kind of help you keep going forward. And then we all live a lot longer too and happier.
Where are you based?
So we have offices in Wilmington and Norwell, but we are in our clients' homes. So we service all throughout Massachusetts, down to the Cape, out to 495, and then southern New Hampshire. So we have 7 teams all throughout Massachusetts.
And just, I don't know if you're familiar with this area or how familiar you are with this area, but in reference to finding places, we have a place right in town. It's called New Life,
Yeah?
and it's a warehouse, and it's staffed by volunteers.
Yeah.
But it's all about giving donations of furniture. They have specific things they want, and it's for people that have been misplaced from their homes, either by fire or homelessness.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And they actually will furnish an apartment for you.
Love it. New life.
You have to-
New Life Home Furnishing.
Great.
And people can go in and actually shop in this big warehouse, and they get everything from beds, coffee tables, to all the kitchen appliances and different.
Oh, that's fantastic. We work with a place called Household Goods that does a lot of that too, but we're always looking for suggestions. So I'll definitely mention that to our Director of Move Management. That's great.
New Life Home Furnishing, it's right over on West Street.
It is amazing places like New Life Home Furnishings and Household Goods. They can't even hold on to things. The amount of stuff that is coming into that place, and they're sorting, and it's all volunteer. People are then coming in, and that's a second chance at life for your belongings. I have seen literally stuff be dropped off and stuff going out the door because people see and feel. And I will tell you too, your belongings still carry their stories. So people can feel that. It's an energetic thing.
Interesting, because now, when you mentioned, I forget what you mentioned about, the sweaters and everything. I mean, clothing is easy, but now we have a new law. No textiles. You can't put textiles in your trash.
Yeah. Every town's very different. No textiles in the trash.
Donate them at the high school. Any textile.
Buckets, high school shoes.
Oh, really? You can donate it statewide.
About that, because they did, because the biggest thing, we're talking about mattresses.
Yeah,
Not gonna be able to just dump that off.
correct. Yep.
They call the stores up, and the stores will, some of them will take them back.
Where?
Different stores, like,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like Jordan's,
they
or
make,
you can call them, and
Yeah, I know.
not necessarily, well, I mean, they won't come and pick it up. No, they won't.
Yeah, there's a website called Local 411 that will help you understand your municipalities, what they'll take, what they won't take. They keep that updated, but also what the new laws are changing things. So it changes all of the time, but yeah, agreed. It depends on each area. Any questions? I thank you for your time and participation. This has been great.